Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Centre for Legal Innovation, ReinventED Legal Business, the Case Studies series. And we are really delighted today to welcome Riz McDonald, who is the founder and director of Found Legal. And we're going to learn all about Found Legal. And, really, as this series does, showcase a firm that is doing legal practice differently. So we're going to learn a little bit about Riz, learn lots about her firm, and also encourage you to ask questions as well. So with that being said, Riz, I'm champing at the bit to kind of get this one. So welcome. It's wonderful to have you here. I'll disappear and we look forward to hearing from you.
Oh, thank you, Terry. Thank you for having me. Well, hello, everyone. Thank you so much for giving up your, I think it's your lunch break. It's 12 o'clock here in Brisbane, so I'm sure it's lunch somewhere for you guys as well. So I'm the founder and director of Found Legal, and I have the pleasure of talking about myself and Found Legal. So hopefully you find some nuggets in here that will be helpful if you're on the journey to either reinventing your legal business or looking to start your own legal business. So as I said, my name is Riz. I've been a lawyer for 16 years and an e-commerce entrepreneur of about 10 years. And my passion basically lies in helping like-minded self-starters build their empire. Now, I get to do basically what I absolutely love the most every day. I get to help people and their businesses grow and succeed. And I just absolutely love it. Love doing that. So what is Found Legal? I'm glad you asked. Well, basically, Found Legal keeps it real, keeps it simple. We're totally an online firm with high-level business expertise. We're here to help creative startups, entrepreneurs, small businesses, influencers basically wrap their heads around the confusing, frustrating, and sometimes convoluted world of law. And we do that in a certain way. And look, these are the lessons that I've learned from traditional legal practices: the good, the bad, and the ugly. So the good is obviously, you're part of a bigger community. There's more resources to be accessed, and you're not necessarily on the hook for anything that goes wrong if you're part of a wider team and working for somebody else. But with traditional practice, my experiences have been, and I can only talk to my own, and that is, look, I met some wonderful, amazing people, but I felt constricted by the way in which things were done, the billing, the recording the time, etc., and not being able to climb up that ladder, so to speak, based on hard work. There had to be other elements as well, and so it's a mixture of the good, bad, and ugly. I'll let you guys figure out which one's which as well, but not to say it was all bad. There were lots of wonderful moments as well. Like I said, you get that support, you get that resources, etc., that you wouldn't typically get with a solopreneur type business. But what you do get with running a business that's reinvented from the traditional practice is a lot more thinking outside of the box, lots more agility to go and do certain things based on how you think and how you vision your world, I guess. For me, I was very clear that I didn't want to offer billing by the hour. I didn't want the people that I one day employed, and I have some employees now, to worry about how much WIP they'd recorded for the month, and that was going to be part of their KPIs. I wanted to serve people with clear pricing, fixed pricing. I wanted to have it presented and made available in a way that they actually understand. So my experiences with traditional practice, try saying that several times, was that sometimes you operated in little silos and you didn't get the full picture, or the advices were almost drafted from a lawyer's perspective to be read by another lawyer rather than thinking of the end client in mind. So I wanted to do all those things that I find kind of good, or the bad or the ugly rather, and change that around for what I was doing with Found Legal. And so what I've done is I've set it up so that there is no fixed fees. There is fixed fees rather than hourly fees, amongst other things as well, and how we deal with the clients, how we talk to them, how we present our work to them has been different, I guess. And I'll talk to that a wee bit more as well. Think like a lawyer. I think that's important, obviously, when you're handling legal matters. But whenever you are working on your business and brand, I think you need to think like an entrepreneur. What do I mean by that? I mean, well, there's your legal advice. That's the business. You give legal support, you provide legal services. But as the business owner, you need to think about, well, where am I taking this business? What is my business strategy? How can I grow my business? Is that through referrals? Is that through networking? Is that through marketing and advertising? Is that through having an online web presence? What is it? You need to think about what you need to do to move that needle and help you grow. And it's not just your legal service is the core element to what you provide, obviously, but how you want to grow that business is super, super important. Having the right strategy in place for your business is important. So from Find's perspective, when I thought about setting up Find, I had this picture in my head of what I wanted to do, and I wanted it to be reflective of me, my personality. I also looked at where did I see myself in, say, 3 years' time or 5 years' time, and what did that look like, and how would I get there? So when I started in September 2019, and I'd already mapped out essentially a business plan, if you like. And I also mapped out a strategy for my business around who I was, my brand voice, my brand, the tone of voice. So on LinkedIn, I might sound a little bit more formal, shall we say, and on Instagram, I'm pretty relaxed person anyway. And so I looked at all those things, and I even gave myself a personality, which, I mean, I'm full of personality, but I felt aligned to an actress called Mila Kunis. And so I wanted my brand to be kind of sassy, fun, but formal when needed. So all of those elements went into my business strategy as to what I was going to sound and look like as a brand, as a business, and then the underlying strategy of growing me and what does that look like and how would I do that? And I was able to identify those things through my research of what I did, of my ideal clients, and I'll get to that as well. And I hope I'm not jumping too fast. So if there are any questions, if there's anything you want to revisit, just let me know. Market like you mean it. So look, marketing can be expensive and time consuming, but it's a necessity if you want to attract the right clients. And you need to use your social media presence to establish yourself as an authority in your chosen area. And taking that back to the whole entrepreneur thing as well, these two kind of meet together, certainly for me. So going back to that business plan, business strategy, finding my brand voice, etc. All those things, they all mixed in so that I was able to focus on Instagram in particular, still have a presence on Facebook and LinkedIn, but my key and core focus was Instagram. And as part of that, I needed to establish myself as an authority in the subject matter I was talking about. And if you go to my Instagram profile, you'll see what I mean. In that, I built up content to establish me as an authority in my chosen area. I use my content to provide value to my potential clients. I built up trust in doing those things as well. I was giving away things like checklists, etc., for free. But equally, I was growing a mailing list. I was also building my authority and building trust with those potential clients. And that was what was going to help me grow as a business. And it has. Don't get me wrong, that's one part of it. There's more elements as well. There is also paid advertising, and we'll get to that as well. And basically, I utilize those social media tools, my social media presence to drive more traffic to my website, because I don't own Instagram, I don't own Facebook, but I do own my website, so to speak. It's mine. And so it was important that I delivered content and value to those social platforms with a view to driving them to my website. Niche your biz. And this was also part of my strategy. So, how I was speaking earlier about know who your clients are. Well, that's it goes hand in hand with the niche in your business. So if you try to target everyone, it's not possible. It's expensive, for one. So think of it this way. If you've got a small marketing budget and you're selling, you're only, if you're a conveyancer, for example, if you think about conveyancing, there's lots of different moving parts to conveyancing, lots of different elements, but the process of buying or selling is essentially pretty much the same. And forgive me if I've got that wrong. I'm not a conveyancer, but I'm using it as an analogy. So you can have, you niche your business to be just conveyancing, but you can niche it further. For example, you can target just people who are about to buy their first home, as an example, or you can target just people who are about to buy a home that's suitable for a family, and just target them. What does that mean? Does that mean you don't take on other types of clients if they come to your door? No, not at all. It just means that you're focusing and targeting what little marketing dollars you might have to those particular clients. You post content that's driven by those clients. So what would a first home buyer be interested in, as opposed to a buyer who's looking to buy a house with their family in mind? There might be lots of different nuances there. So you niche your business to a particular area, and what that does is you can focus then and target your content to that particular niche and to that particular area, rather than trying to please everyone and trying to push out content to everyone, because even in niching, the content that you create is hard work. So using myself now as an example, so I have niched to creatives. So I look at graphic designers, web designers, photographers, etc. They're my niche client, and they have particular pain points around their contracts with their clients. So I have niched content to my socials, to my website, in my blog articles, etc., around their pain points, and through doing that, I have been able to, like I said before about authority, trust, all those things have happened slowly over time. I've built my authority around what I talk about and what I present. I have grown my business through doing that. And as a consequence, I also get referrals from doing that. And I get so many DMs as well that I actually like responding to myself. And move them over to my website to go and buy something, whether that's custom services or whether that's templates. Now, the other thing, and this is super, super important in my opinion, and that is having the right systems and processes, especially if you're a solopreneur. I don't know about anyone else listening, but certainly I didn't have a huge budget when I set up Find. In fact, I had very little budget to set up Find. And with the internet, it's made it, I think, a level playing field. So I was able to set up Find on a very streamlined budget, making sure I had the website, the domain names, and all those practical things that you need as well. But in the back end, I made sure that I had systems and processes, even though I was working by myself. What do I mean by all of those things? Well, I looked at how was I going to manage my client journey, and how could I then automate that and reduce any of the manual steps in that client journey, so that I could be more efficient and more effective in doing all the work and still having a life. So for example, having the website, lots of detail and information about who I am, who Find is, having the ability for the client to book in I use Acuity to booking a meeting with me, rather than a back and forth manual kind of process. So that's the kind of systems and processes I'm talking about. Also, the onboarding of that client. I mean, I use a system called Dubsado or Dubsado. I never know how to pronounce it. I chose not to use typical sort of law related software like Action Step or Clio. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with them. It just, I didn't feel that I needed it in my business, but I still wanted automation. I still wanted systems and processes. So that's what I did. And that was a bit of a lifesaver, because as my business grew, as the team grew as well, it really helped having those systems and processes, because it made us efficient, it made us lean. And it made sure that the clients had an exceptional journey with us. And that was important. And also, as I grew the team, and we currently have one lawyer, a paralegal, and two interns rather, and admin assistant. And I wanted to also have systems and processes in place that managed the team as well. So we don't email each other, we use Slack, but projects or new tasks go into something called ClickUp. So we use that to manage the projects, the client work that comes in. And they've all been very great lifesavers in terms of time saving, and making sure everything's on point and we know where everyone is, and if they're overwhelmed, not if they have capacity, etc. We can do all of that and manage the team. The other thing, is I want to talk, to a few other things. And I think with the systems and processes, I also use email, and I've not put this in the slide, but I wanted to mention it because I think it's important. And I may be going off on a tangent here, but bear with me. So with building, one of the things law firms don't appreciate, I don't think, and it could just be me, I could be wrong, is building an email list. And I think, if you've got an online presence, and you should have, if you don't, you should also think about, well, how can I increase my mailing list? Well, then think about giving something that's free away to build your mailing list, because they're the people you then email, especially if they are your niche clients. They might not be ready today, they might not be ready tomorrow, but you've got a list, a database you can access to send content to, and one of those people may want to buy one of your services, or use your services, and they won't have cost you anything other than a free checklist, rather than spending on Facebook or Google ads. So it's something worth considering as part of your processes. I want to actually go back to that a second with the systems and processes as well, is building your team. One of the mistakes I did make earlier on was not hiring somebody soon enough. I waited until I was busy. That was a mistake. Why? Because then I had to take time out of my day, time out of doing client work, which was bringing in the income, to spend that time training this person up into my systems and my processes. And that was quite frustrating for them and for me in some respects. And I wish I'd done it sooner. And I didn't do it sooner for one reason, and one reason only. And you may have done this, and hopefully I can prevent you from doing this. And that is because I didn't want to share, the income that was coming in. And that was a false thing to do, if that makes sense, because by bringing somebody in, I actually eased the burden on me to then do more client work. So I was actually making more money by hiring my team member. But I would recommend hire before you're super busy, and also make sure you have what I call standard operating procedures, put them in place. What do I mean by that? I mean, if you do something repetitively, get your staff member or yourself, write it up. What does that look like? And have it for the next person who's going to get that job to do. Hey, can you do this for me? Here's the steps of how to do it. By doing that, when I recently hired a paralegal, I was not involved in that process of hiring them at all, because I had the systems and processes in place for my team to manage all of that. I just had to turn up to one of the interviews because I like to interview them, obviously, and get a feel for them. So yeah, so that's an extra tip. I went off on a tangent, I apologize. Pain points. Growing can be painful. Yes. Sharing and delegating responsibilities. Absolutely. Look, I'm not. I like to do everything, and sometimes I forget to delegate. And I've started learning how to delegate and share. And can I just say, it's amazing once you trust and do that. But what helps is having those processes and procedures in place as well. I have to say that gave me the confidence to delegate more responsibilities to my team, and they love that. They love the fact that I'm giving them more and more responsibilities, and it makes them feel part of what Find is becoming slowly over time. But obviously, it's hard. It's hard initially, when you have this vision of your business and how it should work and how these different moving parts need to happen. But I slowly over time, unclenched and, passed it on. And guess what? Everything still happens smoothly. In fact, a lot of things happen a lot faster without me, interfering. So my 2 cents, things you should take into consideration, and try not to forget to have fun, because honestly, it can be fun. And I'm not saying it's not hard work, it's bloody hard work. Okay. Setting up my business, trying to figure out what I needed from the Law Society, what I needed to run my business efficiently, whether I needed a trust account or not, could I deal without having a trust account, all these headaches. There was a lot of hard yards to go through, I have to say. And then putting together all the systems and processes, that in itself, bringing in the clients, worrying about whether they were going to be clients next week or the week after, etc. But once you adjust your thinking, your mindset, can I just say that's an important part of running your own business. Having a community around you, and building a community. It doesn't have to be just lawyers. It can be other business owners as well, because we're all running businesses at the end of the day. Ours happen to be a law firm, right? I see my business as a business, not a law firm. I've always seen it as a business. So I think, I get to go to amazing networking events that I sometimes might be the only lawyer there. I have a lot of fun, and I've grown that community, and I can rely on other business owners to talk about things and have fun in my business. I love dealing with the clients that we have. I also am very mindful of who I work with as well, and that helps a lot as well. Having those what's that word I'm looking for? Boundaries. Yes, having those boundaries in place as well is important. But like I said, try not to forget to have fun, because it can be fun. Yes, it's hard work, but it's very rewarding on many different levels. And this is just the next stage in Find's journey. I'm in year 2 now. It'll be 2 years in September. And I have lots of plans for my business that I want to grow and implement. And I'm constantly checking in every few months on my strategy, where I want to go, setting some goals. Those things, all of those things have helped me to grow Find. And sometimes, look, don't get me wrong, sometimes you might set a goal and you don't achieve it. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. And sometimes you might set something to do and it might not be successful. That's okay too. If you don't learn from that, I find that the mistakes are actually the most important things that can happen to you, because you learn from them. I learned so much from running my e-commerce business that I've applied it to this business. And that's why I was able to scale and grow this business a lot faster than I was able to scale and grow the e-commerce business. And the fact that they're two different businesses was irrelevant. They were both businesses, and they needed to have systems and processes and all those other things that you would need typically to run a business online in particular. And I run this solely online. I don't meet with clients in person. They're all through Zoom. And I have a lot of fun dealing with people from all around Australia. And my team is spread out all around us. Well, I don't know about all around, but Victoria, Gold Coast, and Brisbane. So look, if you put your mind to it, if you have the right mindset, the right work ethic, anything is possible. And surrounding yourself with the right people as well. It makes it so much fun, I think. Yeah, I'm open to more questions before I go off on a tangent. And yeah, so if you have questions, DM or email me or ask me here as well.
Thanks, Riz. That's fantastic, and what a fascinating journey. And yes, folks, do please drop some questions into the Q&A if you'd like me to pose them. But Riz, I've got a bunch of them for you. So maybe
Okay.
they're thinking about them. Let me kick off with some of them. You come from, or I guess have that kind of vibe that is entrepreneurial almost by nature. And we hear a lot about the fact that the lawyer mindset is quite different from the entrepreneurial mindset, or we call them potentially legalpreneurs when lawyers are entrepreneurs. And I guess we often hear repeated the sorts of things like lawyers are conservative by nature, they're risk adverse, they, adverse to change, like to maintain the status quo. You've kind of been through that experience, but no doubt seen a lot of other lawyers as well. So I'm going to ask you this question with that background. Can lawyers be good entrepreneurs?
Yes, they can. They can. I feel that I think it helps though if you're confident in what you're doing and how you're doing it helps that confidence. And when you have that confidence, I think it opens you up to be more willing and open to trying different things or new things. And so I think it is possible. I think if you think about it, starting a new business, whether it's a law firm or whether it's something else, it's scary, it's overwhelming. There's so much to take in and figure out. And thankfully with the internet, etc., you can access more and more resources. Is that's available. But to answer your question, yes, it is possible. You just got to be open to it.
Just to pick up on something that you were saying there as well, when you're kind of, I guess, going through a process of thinking about change, and it might be setting up a new firm like you have, or it might be, I guess, thinking about transforming or changing the firm that you're in, is it helpful literally to go back to the old pros and cons list?
Yes.
Do a bit of an audit and actually.
Yeah, absolutely. When I started Find, I did a big pros and cons list.
Yeah.
And I worked my way through that, and it kind of laid the foundations almost to my business plan, my strategy as well. And what did that look like? And look, at the end of the day, the worst that can happen, shut up shop, get a job.
Yeah.
The worst that can happen. It's and I think you can learn so much. And I think I said this before, you learn more from your mistakes than you do from anything else as well. And look, I made tons of mistakes with Find. I learned a lot from when I had the e-commerce business, but I also made some mistakes with Find as well that I made sure that I learned from, and I used them as an opportunity to grow from as well. So you got to be open to these things,
Yeah. I want to pick up on that strategy point as well. And I'm going to kind of paraphrase it a little bit here. But one of the things that jumped out at me when you were chatting earlier was that you've really built your firm around a client first strategy. And I guess there's different ways that gets expressed now, whether it's legal design thinking or human centered design or whatever. But it is a really different way of thinking about your business. And I'm just wondering if you could share with us, some examples of where that's kind of showed up or shaped, business decisions because that's been your guiding light in a way.
Yeah. So the way I draft things, for example, I try to avoid as much legalese in my blog. If you read the blog articles, they are not designed for other lawyers to read. They're designed for my clients. The same way with my contracts. When I create contracts, they're designed with that client in mind. And in fact, when I make changes to any of the templates that I have, it'll be because of feedback from my clients, not necessarily because of a change in the law. You know, obviously I would make changes because of changes in the law, but my point being, a lot of the time the changes I make are because of feedback from clients, because of that experience from the clients, and I ask them. There's no point me imagining what they need or what I think they need. I go and ask them. So in the past, I've used Instagram to pull them with questions. If if you had this particular issue, what would you do to resolve it, kind of thing? Or, I post those questions to find out what it is, what are their pain points around their contracts, for example. And they sent me so much information, so much data that was useful for me, then creating a solution to that problem. So yeah.
But that's a really different way also of relating to your clients, Riz, isn't it? Because, that's a very close collaboration with your clients versus, a traditional mode would have been, we know it all, or we should know it all.
Yeah.
And we can't ask clients those sort of questions. That's a really different philosophy.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you know what? When they feel involved like that, their experience has changed already, from good to amazing, because they've been involved in that. And I'm very much a, give them the fishing rod, not the fish. So does that mean I won't have them back? Maybe, but I don't mind that. They'll refer me to 10 other people, even if they don't come back to me, because they don't need me anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Let me jump in with a question that we've got here, and it's about kind of how you divide up your time. So I'll just read the question to you. How do you organise your time? How much on paid work? How much on admin and business development? Maybe percentages or something, if that's easy.
Sure. So basically, I'm known as the outsourcing queen amongst my team. And so I do very little admin. If there's any admin, it's because I'm giving instructions to one of my team members, or I'm instructing the bookkeeper about something. So I do very little admin. I'd say maybe less than an hour a week on admin if I can help it. I do not work Fridays. I don't do any client work on Fridays. And I am trying to reduce more of that during the week as well. So what I prefer doing on a Friday is looking at my business holistically, looking at my systems and processes, thinking and mulling over what I want to see happen in the business, what changes I want to happen, what improvements can I make, and just, I block out my day as, I'll tell you what I call it. I call it my strategic business activity day. And that's what I do. And I may also go for lunch with my friends. I might even have a sneaky wine or two. Sometimes that's also a strategic business activity, because I might talk business or shop with them about business, and they're not necessarily lawyers that I meet with. So that's what I do with my Fridays. And then during the week, I do offer, as you might know, free consults, 15-minute consults. So I make sure they don't take up too much of my time. So I've been training up the team to handle those calls as well. And we have a system and process in place to deal with that. So previously I would take all the calls. Now I take maybe 2 or 3 calls myself, and the rest are spread out between the teams, so I can focus on other things. So in terms of actual legal work, I think I probably put in about 2, maybe 3 days, depending on how busy I am, of actual legal work, if that helps.
It does. And thank you. I wanted to kind of just touch on this issue of personal brand for a second. And I, as we kind of, as I was listening to you and also from your slides, and obviously what you emphasized, this does have your personal brand stamped all over it. And I guess that's true. That's a differentiator, and something that a lot of folks that are solo practitioners or smaller law firms would want to be able to emphasize as well. But how does that change, or how do you maintain it as you start to expand your team? Does it remain still personal, or do they become ambassadors, or how does that kind of change that whole vibe?
So when I first started out, it was just me, obviously. And so there was a lot about me. Now I have posts on there where they say our founder Riz did, you know, that step has slightly changed a little to emphasize the fact that I have a team. But it's been subtle and not, you know, with a sledgehammer. It's been a very subtle approach, and I'll be updating my website to have details of my team added on to that as well. So over time, it's kind of moving a wee bit, but I don't want to lose what I currently do. I like being involved. I like people recognizing me as part of Find, but I also want Find to have its own kind of thing happening. So it's been subtle what I've been doing over time to, you know, showcase that it's Find Legal, not Riz. But equally, I'm there as well as the founder of Find Legal, if that makes sense. I'm the face of Find Legal for now. And that might change over time. It depends on where I want to see Find growing and how I want to see Find growing. So that might change. But right now, I'm really comfortable with that. I like having that, you know, touch point with my audience and with my potential clients as well. And I answer most of the DMs because I like it, you know, and I like doing the engagement on socials as well. So that actually takes up more of my time than admin does, you know, doing that. And I actually love it.
Well, I guess it's, you know, it's always been the recipe for a successful business, hasn't it? And particularly a small business, is that you've really got to remain engaged in that business and not step away from it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I was thinking, as you're talking about the admin, I guess a lot of that, the way that you've set it up and from what you're saying, you've kind of used technology a lot to assist you with that. Yeah. And you mentioned a whole bunch of different technologies and what you kind of settled on. But I guess the question that I wanted to ask you, because I think it's one that comes up a lot for small and even medium-sized businesses. How did you go through the process of choosing the tech?
It was a nightmare.
Yeah.
No, that was hard work. So I researched so much for a CRM because when I was keen, even before I went live, to have something in place, because I was confident that I wasn't going to just be servicing one or two clients forever. You know, I felt confident about that. And I felt that if I could have a system in place that did certain automations without me needing to hire a VA straight away, then that was the most cost-effective option.
Yeah.
And so I looked at the law software. I looked at all of them, and I just felt they were too clunky. They were not all of them. So I just felt they were either too clunky, they were either too much for what I needed, and they were bloody expensive for what I needed as well. So I came across Dubsado, and it's used by creatives. And I thought, I'm hoping to work with creatives. Why don't I look into this software that is for creatives? And I loved it. I mean, look, it's not perfect, but I loved it. I loved how it operates and it's streamlined. And there was a lot of hard work involved in setting it up, because your systems and processes are only as good as what you input into them. And I'll be honest, from when I first set it up to now, it's gone through at least one major tweaking, shall we say, of the workflows, and a couple of minor ones as well, because what I had at the beginning and what I have now has changed slightly, and what I offer and how I offer it has changed slightly. So I needed to make adjustments to those workflows to reflect that as well. So that was one of the reasons why I went then with number one, the CRM was important to reduce, say, hiring an admin person, or the timing of hiring one. And the other was to have those systems and processes to help me then scale when I needed to. I use Acuity because I didn't want to do the whole table tennis of phone calls, and it's efficient and it's not too expensive. And I phoned them up and got a discount, which was helpful at the time. And I linked it up with Zoom as well, because I didn't want to meet online. If you think about it, right, offline rather, if you think about it with meetings with clients, I don't see the need to see them face to face. It would involve travel time on my part, on their part, making the opportunity of offering anything free redundant. So a free call is much more efficient and effective than a free meeting. So for both parties, I think. And so I've had clients on the calls with me with their children in the background, or my children in the background, you know, and that's okay. And we take a very informal approach. So yeah, but I've gone off on a tangent a wee bit again there. So going back to the systems, yeah, so that's why I chose what I chose. There was effort and work involved in fixing it and then fine tuning it as I grew. So that was really, really important to me for those two reasons, the growing and scaling it eventually, as well as the efficiencies it delivered.
But it underscores another couple of really important points as well, I think, and that is that you can learn from other industries. You don't have to just be looking at the legal industry. And I guess the other one is that we refer to stuff as legal tech, but in fact, it's just tech.
Yes.
So that was very much, by the sounds of it, the approach that you took.
Yeah, absolutely. So I when I was researching, I should say this actually, when I was researching how to set up Find as a law firm or a legal service provider, I didn't look at other law firms for inspiration. I looked at other businesses, other online businesses for inspiration. And so I wanted to be me but be different as well to what was traditionally offered or how it was traditionally offered. So that was important as well.
Which opens your mind and also opens it up to a whole bunch of possibilities then, right?
Yeah. I mean, you still need those typical legal things. If I was to operate a trust account, then I need everything that's associated with that, right? And also because I'm a law firm, I do have to provide a cost agreement, and I have to be very clear in all of that when I'm offering custom services. But the rest of it is like any other business, so there's elements there that are unique, obviously, due to the nature of what we do, but there's a lot of elements that are the same as any other online business,
I wanted to come back, if I can, for a sec, to strategy and business planning, because it's such an important part of what you mentioned, but also, for any business of a similar size. And, we're now in a situation where the world has obviously been turned upside down, but I'm just wondering, what are your thoughts and advice about how far you build out a strategy now and how far your business reaches into the future? Because, it used to be 5 or 10 years that great now. But what are your thoughts? Like, what do you do?
So I do it kind of like a 2 and a 5.
Right.
So this is where I want to see, and I then break it down further. So I then do quarterly goals setting, and and I check in on where I'm at and where I'm tracking. Is it working? Is it not working? And because I'm the size I am, so if something's not looks like it's gonna, this is not really, we need to stop and pivot or change around, or just stop, then we can do that. But I do like 12 month, 2 year and 5 year, but I then go back, I reverse engineer to see what do I need to do to get me there, and what does that look like from people, cost, outsourcing, insourcing, all of those things. And what am I going to gain from it as well, and what's the intention behind it, what is the purpose, etc., and having all of that in mind when I put all of that together. And I do check in on and have quarterly goals as well, and I check in on those as to how they're tracking and what's needed. But one of the other things that's really important, and this applies to any business, is know your numbers, know your finances inside out. And I check on them regularly as well, because that helps me decide, do I need to increase my marketing budget? Am I in a position to hire somebody? If I hire somebody, can I hire them full-time, part-time, casual, only 5 hours a week? What does that look like for my business? And then the other question is, I guess, if I can hire them, but I'm not 100% in a position to, do I hire them anyway because there is enough money there, but I've made some concrete plans over here of how many clients I'm driving in that will support that employee or that contractor or whatever it might be as well. So knowing your numbers, and combining that with your strategy and goals. I can't say strategy properly today. Is important. Absolutely, is one of the most important things, I think, as well.
But it's also bringing that focus on agility and the all-important cash flow as well, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Fantastic. You know, unfortunately, and I mean that quite sincerely, I should start to draw this to a close. It's just been an amazing discussion, and really appreciated your candor as well. And I know that folks have taken away a huge amount of stuff that's really food for thought and helpful. But I'm just wondering if we might wrap with, you know, parting words of wisdom or advice, that as you're listening to this, you're wanting to do your legal practice differently. I know there's a lot of things, and you've mentioned a lot of things, but what's the one thing that should be kind of the amber that leads to a flame in a way?
Oh my goodness. I love what I do.
Mm.
And I never find that satisfaction, that level of satisfaction, I guess. Yeah, that's the word. Working for others. And I don't know if it was because of them, was it me, or the kind of work I did. So if you can envisage what your life could look like, say 12 months from now, if you started today, picture what that looks like for you, because everyone's picture is different. And then, you know, ask yourself, what's stopping you?
Yeah.
I didn't start Find Legal to make pots and pots of money. You know, I started Find Legal because I wanted a life. I wanted to be happy, and I wanted to be able to spend time with my children that wasn't dictated by a 9 till 2 time frame or anything. If I want to, you know, go to one of my children's swimming carnival, because I only find out at the last minute, because that's what happens with me, I can go and do that. You know, if I want to rejig my appointments because I want to do something with the children, or I want to do something else, I can do that. So think of that freedom. Think of that. What does your life look like, and what do you really dream about 12 months from now? And let that guide you to what you want to do. And don't let fear hold you back ever. You know, if I want to show you this actually. I won this little award through a community I'm in. It's called Goal Kicker, because I'm known as the person who gets shit done. And so I guess, you know, if you put your mind to it, anything is possible. And imagine what kind of lifestyle you want from it as well, because that's important. If you're not happy, it doesn't matter where you work or who you work for, it's not going to be right. So imagine what you want to see picture in 12 months time. And if you can surround yourself with the right people, the right community, the right mindset, you know, and put in those foundational work in there, yes, it can be hard, but it can be also rewarding.
Absolutely. And I guess if we all reflect on that and we think, you know, when it's all said and done, would we have any regrets? To me, it will be probably about what I didn't get done, as opposed to what I did.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. Honestly, you know, it's like in the early days, it was bloody hard work. I remember, you know, discovering the day before launch that my systems weren't talking to each other, and it was going to be a major problem, and we had to delay the launch by another day. And I was also doing another job at the time, and it was, I think I've got a few extra gray hairs, put it that way. But it's slowly coming together. There's still some days that can be a bit trying, but you know what? I'm in the driving seat. I'm in control. I can make changes if I need to. because I put in the right foundations in place at the beginning. I did most of the hard work at the beginning. That doesn't mean to say I stopped. I still go in and fine tune and do what I need to do. And communication with my team is super, super important, doing all those things. And yeah.
Well, congrats, and just an amazing story, and may you continue to thrive.
Thank you.
That's really almost palpable
Yeah.
through in the discussion with you. Thank you again. Thank you, everyone, for attending. I hope you're enjoying this series, and in particular, I'm sure that you've enjoyed this kind of visit with Riz as well. If you'd like to know more about the work of CLI, please do follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. And of course, you can see the contact slide here and the invitation to reach out to Riz, and we would certainly encourage you to do that. So Riz, thank you again. And
not at all.
Until next time, have a great weekend, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Thank you. Thanks, Terri.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.